All right, guys, our next guest is a UFC light heavyweight. He's a former submission of the night winner and one of the nicest guys in MMA. He is none other than Mr. Wonderful, Phil Davis. Phil, welcome to Submission Radio. How you going?
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. And I just want to let you know, I resent that introduction there. Nicest guy to MMA. I'm shooting for nicest guys in the world.
Yeah, all right.
Apparently, I missed my mark.
I know. We didn't do our research properly. We'll amend that in post editing. Don't you worry about that. But let's talk about this. Seeing as you are the nicest guy in the world, since your last Octagon appearance, since UFC 172, what have you been up to, Phil? What's been new in your life?
Not too much new. A lot of the same. You have those times where you just need to put your nose down and work hard and get better and improve in some areas and fill in some of the holes in your game.
Now, the big announcement that came out, Phil, was that you'll be fighting Glover Teixeira at UFC 179. What do you think about this matchup? Are you happy to be fighting Glover next? He's someone who you've been meaning to match up with for a while now.
Absolutely. I think it's a great matchup. He's obviously Brazilian. The fans seem to really like me down in Brazil after I'm done fighting. And it should work out well. Another trip down in Brazil, another chance to have an awesome performance down there. The fans down there are absolutely fanatical about MMA, so I'm just excited about the matchup, the venue, the fight, co-main, everything. Should be a great opportunity to put myself back in that title hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of guys, they're a bit weary about fighting in Brazil. Guys like Chad. We had Chad Mendes, TJ Dillashaw, and even last week Luke Rockhold. They sort of expressed that they'd rather fight in the States. You, on the other hand, I believe you're undefeated in Brazil. Do any of those things worry you at all about Brazil, like the commission or the judges or anything like that?
Well, there's no commission. Do I worry about the judges? Absolutely, I worry about the judges. Is it going to be a fair fight? No, it's not going to be a fair fight. Do I expect it to be, uneven? Absolutely. But, at some point, I got to give these guys a little bit of credit because they come over to America and they fight, and you very seldom hear them complain. So I first have to say that. Now, having said that, there's a little bit of home field advantage, and I acknowledge that. But at the same time, I'm ready to scrap.
Absolutely, Phil. Now, we saw a very hilarious video of you getting Cormier, you and Luke Rockhold getting Cormier ready for the Jon Jones eye pokes recently. It was a great video. But just wondering, for your fight at UFC 179, will you continue training with Cormier and Luke now that the fight's been postponed for your own purposes to get ready for Glover?
Yep. I was helping out DC get ready for Jon Jones. And he was helping me get ready for Glover Teixeira. So, but, more than anything, Daniel Cormier, Rockhold, Cain Velasquez, all the guys up at AKA, they're just great to train with. Been knowing the guys for a long time, training with them a bunch over the last couple of years. And it was just great to get back up there with them, meet up, get some training in, and, just do my thing.
Now, speaking of training, obviously a stablemate at Alliance has been Alexander Gustafsson for quite a while. Now, news came out, I believe, just today that Gustafsson is moving on. I think he's going to be training a lot more back at home, back in Sweden. I think he was citing, expenses and things like that being one of the issues. And also, he was being quite realistic that you guys could possibly fight in the future, not that he'd really want to. What are your thoughts about that?
What are my thoughts about what?
Just in general, Gustafsson leaving. I mean, you guys were like bros, you guys were pals, and now he's left Alliance.
I think you said it perfectly. I don't think anything has changed. I think we are bros. We are pals. So we get together, we'll train together again, Right now, life brings you different seasons. Sometimes what's right for one time isn't right for the next time, and it's perfectly fine to do whatever you do in whatever season you're in your life. and that's fine. At the end of the day, we're boys.
Absolutely. So the friendship continues. That's very interesting. Now, speaking of Gustafsson, he was supposed to have the official title match against Jones. He got injured and DC stepped in. Now, Gustafsson's in the unfortunate position where, he'd like to get his title shot against Jones on January 3rd, but now Cormier has taken that spot. Do you think that Gustafsson should have gotten the title shot now that he'll be healthy to fight Jones, considering he was the original person who was matched up against Jones and DC was filling in?
Well, honestly, here's what it comes down to. It comes down to what makes the most sense. And unfortunately, my boy Alex got hurt when he was preparing for his title shot, and I truthfully believe he was going to win the belt. So, does that suck? Absolutely, that sucks. He was about to be the champion of the world. My boy's about to be the champion of the world. So, obviously, I'm upset about that. But at the same time, Daniel Cormier gets matched up when he gets injured, and then Jon Jones becomes injured. I don't, on one hand, I do think it should go back to Alex, and on the other hand, I do agree that it should stay, Jones should stay matched up with Daniel Cormier. And truthfully, I don't really know what I would do had I been in that position, had it been my call, but I can honestly say it's not my call, and I don't care who fights him first.
I think of Phil Davis as well. You'll definitely want to fight him. But next up, obviously, you've got Glover Teixeira. Now, in your last fight, you fought Anthony Rumble Johnson. He was a guy with a lot of strength and a lot of knockout power. And in Glover, you'll find some similar attributes. What are your plans to deal with Glover's knockout power?
I'm going to have to do a better job than Anthony Johnson, I can tell you that. But I'm definitely going to have to get some range going, and after that, wrestling, use my strikes to put him in hot water and make him make some tough decisions.
Absolutely. You mentioned your fight against Anthony Johnson. Just from that fight itself, what do you think is the biggest thing that you learned from that entire experience?
I'm sorry, what was the...
what was the thing that you think... Yeah, what did you take away from that situation? Obviously, it didn't come out in your favor, but what did you take away from that situation?
Well, I tell you what I took away. I can definitely take a punch and not complain about it. I learned that. I learned Rumble Johnson hits hard. I know that. That's too fat. Put those down. That is a fact. So, there's a lot I can take out of that. I wasn't performing at my absolute best. I knew that going in, but what do? I'm a competitor. I will never back away from a fight. It's just not what I do. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to quit. I had to be smarter with my preparation. Employ a different game plan against Glover Teixeira, and really make sure I take the fight to him and not get caught on my heels.
And prior to the fight against Jon Jones, Glover was undefeated for a long time, and Jon Jones really put on a clinic against him. Watching that fight at UFC 172, is there anything that you took away from that fight and learned, and maybe looking to employ against Glover, maybe using like a shoulder crank or anything like that?
All of that would definitely be true, but honestly, I've only seen a little bit of his fight with Jon Jones. I was actually not watching that fight. If you can believe that, I was not happy at the time. Wow. He was busy fighting Jon Jones. Mm-hmm. So I definitely will review that fight in preparation for my next fight, and we'll see what I come up with.
Now, Phil, obviously, if you beat Glover, you'll be back in the title picture. When you and Jones had a bit of banter back and forth, Jones took it fairly well. Now, with DC, for some reason, DC really gets under Jones's skin. Why do you think DC is so effective at getting a reaction out of Jon Jones?
Well, he's effective at it because that is what DC does. He's just a natural-born antagonist. He just has it in his skin. I mean, his blood. It's just he can't help it. If you're in the gym with him, he's just a guy to tease you. And if you know him, you have fun. If you don't know him, you won't have fun.
Mm.
So that's why, because he's good at it. And it's probably even worse and intensified because he may have some strings of merit to some of the things he says.
And, the two had a bit of a scuffle. I think it was a week or a couple of weeks ago now. A lot of people are saying, including Luke Rockhold, that it's good for business. It's going to drive the pay-per-view up heaps. As a fighter who's been in plenty of stare-downs, what did you think about it? What would you have done if you were in that kind of situation?
What would I have done?
Mm.
If I were who?
I guess either. I guess DC.
Well, if I were DC, I would have probably done exactly what he did. A lot of guys try to be a little bit too extra. It's one thing to give me a hard stare down or attempt to intimidate me, but if he was trying to headbutt him, well, you got to get him out your face.
Mm.
Well said, Phil. Now, we let people know that you're coming onto the show, and we've got a whole bunch of fan questions, so we'll ask you a couple. Rico69 wrote in, he said he loved the video with you and Luke, and you and Luke were prepping Cormier for the eye pokes ahead of the Jones fight. But he's wondering, on a more serious note, how dangerous are those eye pokes to opponents that Jones throws, and do you think that he throws them deliberately?
How serious are the eye pokes? The eye pokes are probably not that serious. But an eye poke and a straight right hand, that's actually quite serious. Listen, it's not something that happens every once in a while. It happens quite often for some guys. I got the worst of it. After I poked Wagner Fido in the eye, I was getting the worst of it from the UFC, from the referees, and I had to make sure it never happened again. So we made sure it never didn't happen again. But I'm starting to get the feeling he's not getting the pressure to make sure it doesn't happen again. So maybe someone needs to take a point. And a lot of times referees are scared to take a point in a title fight.
Yeah.
And it's not even like first of all, the referees have so much pressure on their job as it is. It's not an easy job. There's two guys out there fighting with a lot of pressure on them, and then there's a referee who's fighting against two guys with a lot of pressure on them. I get it. But at the same time, I'm still going to go in there and win, and I still need that referee to go in there and make the correct call. So if you're poking people in the eyes multiple times in a fight, well, listen, you got to make the call. When I fought down in Brazil, I made it perfectly clear to the referee prior to going in the octagon. I made it perfectly clear. I said, listen, okay, this is the thing. People know that I wrestle. I'm going to take you down. You can't help that. That's what I do. People want to grab the fence. What are you going to do when they grab the fence? He said, Phil, if it stops a takedown, I will take a point immediately. If it doesn't stop a takedown, I won't take a point. Now, already that rule is horrible because I have to not get a takedown in order for you to take a point. That's a lot of energy I just wasted. But anyway, my point is, sure enough, in that fight against Wagner Fido, I took him down 3 or 4 times, and in the series, in the sequence of one takedown, he grabbed the fence a total of 10 times. And the referee told him to stop grabbing the fence 10 times, including 3 slaps on the hand. At what point do you say, this guy's not going to listen? So, again, when it gets back to the eye pokes, something needs to be done. They need to warn him before he goes out. Listen, people complain about your eye pokes. If you poke someone in the eye and it looks inadvertent, we'll let it go 1 time. Second time, inadvertent or not, we're taking a point. And I think he'll be a little bit more intentional after that.
It's very interesting. Phil, you're the kind of guy that we would love to see in judging or reffing possibly after a long fight career. But we've got a fun thing to do. We do with all our guests. It's called the Submission Radio Tap Out Round. We'll basically fire off a bunch of questions at you. They're all fun questions, and you basically answer them with the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What's the best thing about the sport of wrestling?
Best thing about the sport of wrestling is starving yourself, making weight, and feeling like a man after you win.
Now, what's Mr. Wonderful's best bowling score? And we're not going to accept games with bumpers. Those aren't included.
I missed the second half of that question.
Well, you can't give us scores if you had the bumpers up, Phil. Like we weren't there, but we trust you to give us proper bowling scores.
Right. Well, okay. My best score is somewhere around like 160, 170. I am truthfully not a great bowler. I probably average around 120, somewhere around there. But every now and then you get high, happens. So, yeah, but with the bumpers up, I'm pretty sure I could do pretty good. Although I've seen someone once with the bumpers up do just about as good as they did with the bumpers down, and I think it's because if you can't roll a strike, you can't roll a strike, and the bumpers just won't make that happen. They keep it on the lane, so that I might have to try that. I've never played with the bumpers up.
I like that. You broke it down play-by-play style, very technical. Now, Phil, you're a fantastic grappler. Will we ever see Phil Davis participate in a Meta Morris one day?
You just double dog dare me. That's what you need to do. Double dog dare me. I'll be a Meta Morris spot.
A double dare. Well, but if I double dare, doesn't that mean I have to compete as well? If I double dare, doesn't that mean I have to compete as well?
Sort of. There. Looks like the match is set.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess it's us versus Phil Davis at Meta Morris.
Don't pull me into this, Casper. You just dug your own grave. Now, Phil, you wear a sneaky backpack in a lot of your photos on Twitter, so you have to come clean. What's inside this mystery backpack, and what treats are hidden inside?
Oh. You know what? Honestly, I'm always ready to train. If somebody says, "Hey, Phil, let's go," boom, I got gloves, I got shorts right there. Wow, I'm ready to go. I'm always ready. Just in case anybody tries to test you just always got to be ready to go at any time.
Now, Phil, what entrance music can we expect to see you use at UFC 179, or is it a secret?
I usually go the secret route, but honestly, I haven't decided for sure. I have a 90% candidate, but then again, I don't really divulge that type of information just yet.
Well, just answer through a series of blinks or phone taps. Is it that song that goes, "Why can't we be friends"? Is that it?
Yeah, wink, wink.
Now, Phil, this is going to be a very complicated question, but have you seen the 1993 romantic comedy, Mr. Wonderful?
You know what? I saw bits and pieces of it, and it was actually pretty funny.
Well, we were thinking that perhaps that's where you got your inspiration for the nickname.
You'd be slightly off. I got the nickname from my cat. I had a cat in college named Mr. Wonderful.
Wow, that's great. All right, cool. Never expected that. I think final two questions. Prediction: who wins and how in the Jones-Cormier match?
Well, it still has to happen. I mean, at this point, honestly, I think Cormier wins. I honestly do. I think he's successfully gotten into the head of Jon Jones, and Jon does not like it, not one bit. So that right there gives him the edge.
Some very expert analysis. And finally, Phil, how will we see you beat Glover Teixeira at UFC 179 in Brazil? How's it going down?
Listen, I haven't let the fans down in Brazil yet, and it's not going to start in October. So, I'm don't know. It's going to be so spectacular. Every time I get in Rio, they call Rio the Wonderful City, and I am Mr. Wonderful. So there's no possible way I can disappoint like that.
You can be like the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and you can be like undefeated in Rio de Janeiro.
The streak.
The streak, guys. You can catch Phil on
exactly.
You can catch Phil Phil on Twitter at Mr. Wonderful and philmrwonderful.com. And of course, don't miss this fight. It's going to be crazy. Phil Davis taking on Glover Teixeira at UFC 179 on October the 25th or October 26th if you're here in Australia in the future. Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.